Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to National Scribble Day. Who thinks up this stuff? National Scribble Day? Seriously? I turn on my Facebook and it's National Scribble Day. So here we go. Scribble Day, of course, is an ancient custom amongst my people. Goes all the way back to the Stone Age when I was a kid. And okay, so the important thing about scribbling is to know the rules, which is there are no rules whatsoever. You just scribble. You drag your thing around the paper and you scribble. We used to do this around the campfire after Dad had run down a woolly mammoth and beat it to death with a rock. And I was like the drumstick. And then we'd sit around the campfire and scribble in the dirt, and the old men would tell tales of the scribblers from the ancient past. And so now I've got a scribble, and I don't know what to do with it. I guess you haven't got to do anything with it. You know, you could just go, "Why, what a lovely scribble that is right there." Or you could think to yourself, that reminds me of something. For some of us, it probably reminds us of something we shouldn't say on camera. But for the rest of the audience, what have we got? What have we got here? We've got a scribble. Maybe we could turn it over. Does that look like something in particular? Does that look like something? I don't look like something. I don't know. Can't really say. So, but I've got to do something. The camera's rolling. So, I think we look for eyes. Whenever we see shapes, we have a tendency to look for faces, really, to look for familiarity and also probably danger. You know, if somebody's looking at you, you need to know about it. So we have a tendency to look for eyes, and I'm going to roll with that. My first impression about this thing is that could be an eye, and if that is an eye, maybe that's a nose, a pig nose. It's a pig doodle. Can you say that on Facebook? Can you say pig doodle on Facebook without getting in trouble? I hope I don't get reported for saying pig doodle on Facebook. But anyways, the doodle's out of the bag. I just added another eye over there. Not staying absolutely true and faithful to every line on this doodle. I'm just going with the ones that strike me as ones that could mean something. You know, kind of form a shape. I did a lot of these a few years ago. I had hurt my back, and I was laying flat on my back on the bed and trying to sketch, and I couldn't sketch because I couldn't sit up and do things. So I had the sketchbook like this, and I was just trying to draw, and I wound up with a scribble whether I wanted one or not. And so I just did a whole bunch of scribbles and then tried to see if I could make something out of that, because if I wanted to do something careful and that made sense, it wasn't going to happen. So I wound up with a bunch of these kinds of guys. And these sort of look like ears. This could be ears. I don't know what kind of an animal we've got. It doesn't really look like a pig. Sort of looks like a mouse pig. Mouse pig. Not sure what we're doing down here. We're doing something with that. I could ignore it. Entirely. Just kind of go like this. What in the world kind of animal is that? Well, if you follow my art, you probably know that doesn't really bother me too much to to be drawing some animal that doesn't look real. See, that's what this is. That's his other cheek right there. That's his other pig, mouse, fat, chubby, pig doodle cheek. There it goes. He said pig doodle again. It's dirty. I could take a paper towel, just smear that out. Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Well, because it's cool. It tones the paper. And then you can take a little eraser and pull some shapes out. Make the eyes look more three-dimensional. So now it starts to look more solid. It's got less to do with the lines that I made and more to do with the shapes, and that's a much more solid and realistic drawing. And you want to be realistic when you're working on pig scribbles, because you want to be as realistic as you can be, like that. Now we've kind of established a little bit of a reality here. I'm going to draw in the lower edge of his lower eyelid, like that. I'll darken his pupil again, like so. Yeah. I'm going to do a bit of shading. Get that in there. Basically reinforce the lines that are important to you, and the other ones you don't really have to erase them. You can just kind of ignore them, and they'll just become less important as you go along. Charcoal is a very fluid kind of media. You know, you think of it like a pencil. If charcoal frustrates you and you can't control charcoal and you hate charcoal, it's because you're trying to use it like a pencil. Don't think of charcoal as a pencil. Think of charcoal as a paintbrush, and think of the paint that you've put down as something that you can still take and smear and smudge and move it around, because you can. It's still somewhat malleable. Not literally fluid, but malleable in that sense. And that might help you like charcoal a little bit better. Or not. I don't know. What do I know? Put a collar on there so that he's got clothes on. That's a little inside joke between me and myself. I grew up going to this church where if I had drawn his neck down to there and didn't put a collar on him, that was nudity, and I would be told to indicate that there's clothing, or else you've done a bad thing. All right, so we got some white charcoal too, and now that there's a tone down there, you can add some white and it'll show up. And on the blank paper, you wouldn't really be able to see that. I hope that you can see it now. Sometimes things are different on the video than they are in person. But having added some white, you gotta be careful. I mean, you wouldn't really see white highlights on those upper teeth because they're in the shadow. They're underneath that big snout, and you wouldn't see much there. So, well, a little bit of realism in my wacky little doodle. So there you go. Pig face doodle mouse weird looking thing. Which is what we do on National Scribble Day. So get some paper and a piece of charcoal and do that and have a good time. Thanks, everybody. By the way, if you enjoy things like this, please support my Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Gilead or something like that. Anyways, I'll provide a link next to the video. Have a good day.